Alrighty, ladies and gentlemen, we are back at it again. It's been a minute, but we've got ourselves another Wuthering Waves video. And one thing that I just want to get off of my chest as we head into this version 3.2 preview special broadcast image over here is the fact that this game has undoubtedly been in one of the driest periods it's ever had in the history of the game. And I don't really think that that much is a surprise at all, especially considering that we've got Luke Herson, we've got a male, we've got a male on the patch over here. He's naturally not going to be as popular given the fact that he has a ding-a-ling instead of, a gigantic pair of milkers, just because that's the type of community that these games typically foster. And the end result is that you can even see it on the Twitter page over here. There's not even a lot of updates that are happening. They're barely doing like a daily thing every single day. And some days they're even like skipping them because there's just not really that much to talk about, right? Especially knowing that the broadcast is coming up soon. And you can even see that the last post on the Twitter page was just advertising the Double Tacit Field event. That's happening, well, I guess today. And it's been radio silence ever since. And so I thought this would be an awesome opportunity for us to, just go ahead, start taking a look at what we actually do have to look forward to. And that is the live stream that should be happening in about 2 days. Really more like a day and a half, especially if you know how time zones actually work. And so with that in mind, I wanted to talk about some predictions. I wanted to talk about what to expect because I'm going to be real over here. This patch has the potential to be one of the more interesting patches in the history of the game, but it also has potential to be one of the greatest filler patches, or really, maybe not a great filler patch, but just a filler patch as a whole. Because one thing is clear, we've only had one 5-star unit announced for this update, and it's Sigrika. And I think one thing that's pretty clear about Sigrika as a whole is that I don't think a lot of people are like super hyped up because, like, I'm just gonna be honest. Remember what I said before about, like, the character designs and stuff? I think she kind of just fits, like, the, very, like, cutesy, ditzy sort of thing. She obviously has some sort of connection with, like, the Roya tribe and, like, like, the Sola skins and all of that shit. She's clearly also, like, an echo skill damage dealer, too, and we already have, like, a bunch of echo skill damage dealers in the game. And she's probably going to, as an arrow echo skill damage dealer that's going to use... Let me just be upfront over here. If you don't think Sigrika is going to use this set, you're probably stupid. Yeah, arrow damage and echo skill damage bonus sound a true name, and Sigrika's whole thing is about like true names and stuff. It's pretty fucking clear that this is what she's going to use. Right? Not really that exciting. Doesn't really change the meta of the game that much. And it's kind of just like something that we've had before. Some people are saying this is Chuyan's set. That's because you don't actually know how Chuyan works. Because he does very little echo skill damage. He does mostly heavy attack damage, so this set is actually kind of buns on him. Sorry, I just needed to make that clear right off of the bat. This set is pretty bad on Chuyan. Yeah, you just have to not know how his kit actually works. So, yeah, this unit's coming out, and it's pretty obvious, guys. I don't think she's going to sell that particularly well. I don't think she's going to be a banner that, like, shakes or, like, shakes and breaks everything in the history of the game, because she's going to be solo out here, right? All by herself in 3.2, and guess what's coming out in 3.3? The anniversary. And what has Kuro done on their past anniversaries? Well, they released a very, very hyped up unit that, honestly, I think didn't actually do as well as they expected. Yeah, Zani was the anniversary unit for Wuthering Waves 2.3. Last year's anniversary. And I think a lot of people liked her. There was actually a lot of hype over an EN because, she has a very, very, very cool character design. But good golly gee, this character is dog shit. Yeah, a lot of people would love the ability to refund her and Phoebe. Probably Rosia as well. Honestly, yeah, these are like the Sinister Sisters over here. Just completely dog shit units that everyone wishes that they could refund and like get all the pulls back. Yeah, if you guys could, right? You would refund all 3 of these units. Don't fucking play. Don't play. If you could, you would refund all 3 of these units. Don't lie. Don't lie. So that's what we had in version 2.3. And so a lot of people are guesstimating right? That there's going to be a really, really hyped up character for version 3.3. We've already got some story teasers for who that unit might potentially be. Just go check out that life lessons video that we reacted to, right? Talking about like a certain Miko, white hair, white doves, Charmony doves, all of that shit. And if you've seen some stuff floating around that's been very, very, very public, it's kind of clear why this unit maybe is not going to sell that well. But this is the thing. There should be some other decent stuff that comes out in Wuthering Waves 3.2. Because you want to know what came out in the version right before WuWa's anniversary? That was version 2.2 in Wuthering Waves. And what was version 2.2 all about, ladies and gentlemen? It was a very, very story-rich patch that focused on Cardathea, that focused on the Tangle Tower. And the only new unit that we actually had, guys, was Cantarella, at least on the limited banner. But guess what we also had to accompany Cantarella in that version? An amazing story, and then also the introduction of a new type of rover. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, the introduction of a brand new fucking type of rover. And so you're probably wondering, oh boy, is this how Curl's gonna sweeten the deal in this patch? They probably should follow this structure, and it makes quite a bit of sense. We might see a resolution to obviously what's going on with this character. Because version 3.1 was one of the biggest cliffhangers we've ever seen in gacha history, at least when it comes to Amith. We're kind of just like, okay, we begin to figure out a little bit more about why she is where she is, but as far as everyone is concerned, everyone is trying their hardest, at least in like their headcanons and their fanfics that they're writing right now, to go save this bitch. Because, well, a lot of people really like her design. A lot of people really like how she's been implemented, and she's not in a very good spot when it comes to the story right now. And what better way for us to, I don't know, sort of like close that loop, pun intended, right? And figure out how we're going to actually save her than have a new version of Rover. Because guess who ends up saving Cardathea? The new version of Rover. The new version of Rover is how Cardathea gets saved. Everyone knows that. And guess what we had release in version 3.1? Very early on in advance. It wouldn't make a lot of sense for a set like this to have so much of a delay when it comes to who's actually going to be using it. Let's just read it a little bit over here. Chromatic Foam, fusion damage plus 10%. And when the Resonator inflicts fusion burst on enemies, they gain the following effects. Gain 10% fusion damage for 15 seconds. And while the effect is active, casting an outro skill, blah, 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 grants the incoming Resonator 25%. Guys, it kind of does make sense for Rover to at least be on one of Amith's best in slot teams, right? Because one thing is clear. Amith has a fusion burst mode that is currently dog shit. It is fucking useless. Like, legitimately, if you're using this, you're griefing. Everyone knows it. If you're using this, you're griefing. I don't think that anyone could disagree with that. She's only been on Rupture mode since her release. It would be a little bit odd if Chisa gets another patch of being, again, the most useless unit in the game, because she's still going to only work on one team. Yes, you can try to use her on the Fusion Burst team, but you're just coping at this fucking point, right? Surely. Something's going to come out. And when it comes to this sort of support, when it comes to this sort of archetype, Rover ends up being one of the best units overall to make this shit happen. But this is kind of like the crazy thing, right? Era Rover comes out on March 27th in version 2.2. And who ends up coming out immediately afterwards? Chakona. The kind of like final member of that team that really like closes the loop. And my take personally is, I think Rover's probably going to get some form of Fusion Burst. Some form, like Fusion Rover. I've been hoping and I've been praying this entire time that Sigillum is involved like somewhere in their transformation, right? Maybe they get to like turn into Sigillum, right? Because Sigillum turns into Rover. That's been a big thing that I've been pushing for. It's been a big thing that I hope actually happens. And how poetic would it be for Amith, at least in her current spot in the story, right? For her to end up getting saved by Sigillum, knowing that, well, they've been fighting the whole fucking time, right? That was like the whole premise of the 3.1 story. And it would make a lot of sense with the timing of sets like this. Because if we don't get a Fusion Burst sub DPS in the next version, then this is going to be the first Sonata set in the history of the game that needs to wait 2+ versions for its user. The very first one in the history of the game. Some people might be saying, oh, what about Chuyan set? Chuyan set was released in 2.6 and Chuyan released in 2.7. So you're just wrong. It was there for one version. Chuyan set was released in 2.6. The Fenrico Echo was available in 2.5, but it only gained Chuyan set as a possible drop in 2.6. Didn't his set come in 2.5? Okay. Hey, guys. There's this thing called Google, right? And if you use this thing called Google, you can just look up this fucking shit yourself and not type retarded shit into my chat that you could have just fucking Googled. Like, good fucking God. Like, just... You could just Google when it came out, bro. Sangui's Plateau. What? Where is this fucking Where is this fucking Nightmare Nest, you idiot? Where is this Nightmare Nest? Oh, let's see over here. Huh, it's in the map that got released in 2.6. How the fuck else? Guys, why do you think I led into that by saying there's been no set in the history of the fucking game that has taken more than 2 versions for a user to come out? I led the section with that. I led the section with that and then even clarified Chuyan. And then I had 3 retards in chat immediately say, but wait, even though you just said that, isn't that not true? I even led the section with it and specified the Chuyan one, and then you guys just immediately said, wait, Shirley, you're wrong about that, right? What's wrong with you? Zani's set is in 2.0. Yeah, Zani's set was in 2.0. You wanna know who else uses Eternal Radiance, you dumb bitch? This bitch who came out in 2.1. Oh, you're gonna say, oh, what about Cantarella who uses Midnight Veil? Yeah, she came out in 2.0, and she uses Midnight Veil. Oh, what about Gus of Welkin and yeah, Gus of Welkin came out in 2.2, she came out in 2.3. Are you guys done being retarded? Do I need to go through every fucking unit in the list because you guys have the shittiest memories in gacha gaming? Do I need to go through every unit that came out because you guys are actually this stupid? Oh, what about Luke? We're in 3.1 right now, and a set came out in 3.0, you dumb shit. Every single set in the game up to this one and Chromatic Foam potentially has had a user within 1 patch of it releasing. That is a fact. It's been a 1 version delay time maximum for every single set in the game. And so unless we get Fusion Rover who can utilize this set in 3.2, this will be the first set in the history of the game, the very first one, right, that does not have a user within a patch of releasing. That's a fact. And so, in 3.2, we either get Fusion Rover, or Kuro breaks a pattern, a literal pattern that they've had since the beginning of the game. Which one seems more likely? Fusion Rover or Kuro gaslights us and breaks a fucking pattern that they've had since release. Breaking a pattern that they've had over 2 years. Who knows, right? But that's why version 3.2 has the potential to be so exciting, right? I think knowing the direction that the story is going to head, all of that, there's a big opportunity for this patch to just be entirely filler, right? There's a big opportunity for this patch to just be like some fucking like solo skin journey with like this goofy ass, like tribeswoman, and then we just go around, right? And then we go on like a Disneyland adventure, right? It's gonna be like an episode of Bambi or some shit, except like all the animals are gonna be like mechanical. There's potential for that to happen. Or we get a lot more of like a deep story exposure. We re-explore Ameth, Aleph 1, all of that shit, and then Rover ends up getting another transformation. And then this set finally has a user. Or are we gonna get another, the fish are over here? Could have that as well, except we're like in the forest instead. Because one thing is clear, right? We have not had a filler patch in this game for a very long time. I don't remember the last time we had a filler patch in this game, bro. Like when was the last filler patch? Because like Honami's not a filler patch. 2.7 wasn't a story filler patch. 2.6 wasn't one either. Like it was like 2.3, right? Was like the last, but that one still had the Chakota story. 2.3 still had the Chakota story. So if we're gonna be real, it's been close to a year since we've had like a story filler patch. So we're due for one, and that's why I'm saying we might need to temper our expectations a little bit. Because we can't even get mad, right? Can we even get mad if there's like another filler patch? Bro, it's been over a year since we've like technically had one. It's been over a year since we've had a filler patch that doesn't advance the story at all. Because it was 2.1. The fucking fishes and the Alvarado Vault shit. You could just not do the Alvarado Vault quest and you could just not do the fish quest and you lose nothing. And of course, a filler patch right before the anniversary does also make sense. Because one thing is very clear, we had a very explosive story in this update. That does remind me of the type of explosive story that we had in 2.2. So it could just be that Kuro's like flipping the order over here, right? Where 3.1 is the crazy story patch, 3.2 is the filler, while in Rinasida, 2.1 was the filler, and then 2.2 was the crazy story patch. Because the crazy story patch has already happened. Yeah. So once again, ladies and gentlemen, I think we've got to take some of the expectations that we have for this update and temper them a little bit. Because there are a bunch of different ways that it could go. One thing that I'm 100% sure of, though, is that there's probably not going to be, like, any new Sonata sets. There's probably not going to be anything too crazy. Like, you already have, right? You already have, like, Sigrika's set in the game. You already have the new Fusion Burst set in the game. And you already have Amid's set in the game. All of the new characters are already good to go, right? There's not really anything that we can really... There might not even be like a new map expansion and stuff like that. I'd be surprised if there was. Because what would kind of be the point at this point? Maybe they'll give teasers. Maybe they will have like a new map. Maybe they will have new Tacit fields. Maybe they will, you know, maybe like tease through the sets. Because they've been constantly doing that, right? Tease through the sets what the future units will be. And then maybe we'll get insight for what the 3.3 anniversary unit and like the follow-up unit are going to be as well. That could be something too. But yeah. Overall, I would say when it comes to this update, when it comes to 3.2, there's a lot of opportunities to be let down. There's a lot of opportunities, though, for it to be fucking crazy and really, really, really cool. And I think it's all going to be based off of where Kuro decides to actually take this story as we look into that live stream. Because this could be one of the greatest ones ever, but this could also be one of the most lukewarm milquetoast ones ever. We also probably want to figure out how long this patch is going to be too. Is it going to be the full 6 weeks that we normally have? Is it going to be a shorter one? 5 weeks? We'll just have to see. But yeah, hopefully, ladies and gentlemen, this has helped to at least bring in some level of hype for this coming update and this coming live stream. But I do want to say, don't set your expectations too high, because there's a lot of reasons for why Kuro might want to take their foot off of the gas pedal and have a bit more of like a relaxing sort of thing. One thing is clear though, this is supposed to be like some type of festival, right? This is supposed to be some type of festival, right? And, well, what did we have the last time that there was a festival in this game? Sorry, when was the last time we had a festival? Oh, right. Wasn't it version 1.2? Or like a festival advertised? Yeah, I remember the last time we had like a festival patch, they gave out this guy for free. Just saying. Just saying. That's the last time we had like a festival built into the patch. And no, 2.0 and the Grand Carnival doesn't count. That shit was caused by Fraxidus, bro. Nah, bro. Fraxidus did that shit, not us. You do realize that, right? Like, for Lova, Fraxidus, all of that shit, they caused the Carnival to happen, so that wasn't, like, a festival. Look at the fucking thing here, bro. This shit is clearly supposed to be, like, celebratory in some way. So, I don't know. Maybe they'll come out with, like, a free unit, too. That could entirely be something. It's been a while since we had one of those. Hey, maybe they give out Zani for free or something. She just comes over on vacation, and, like, everyone knows she's a piece. It is what it is, right? So, yeah, that's going to be the video for this one. Let me know what you all thought. Peace out.